An ordinary student suddenly becomes a king in another world because of a ring. One night, while Sato was hunting in the forest, he was surprised by a light that appeared not far from him. When Sato approached it, Sato saw a girl with an old man. The girl asked his name, and when Sato introduced himself, the girl also said that her name was Jamie. Jamie begged Sato not to tell anyone what he saw, and in exchange, they could be friends. From then on, Sato felt that he had to protect Jamie. 10 years passed, and they became close friends because they were also neighbors. However, whenever they were together, Sato couldn't take his eyes off the necklace Jamie was wearing. One day, when Sato saw Jamie looking at it, Jamie said that the necklace would only be given to the person Jamie would marry. A few hours later, while Sato was talking to his classmates, Jamie sent a message and invited him to the summer festival. Sato felt nervous and thought that maybe this was the right time to declare his love. In the afternoon, when they arrived at the festival, they walked around, tasted the various foods they saw, and played games. After some time, they went to the highest part to wait for the fireworks display. Sato was about to declare his love when the fireworks started, so he delayed what he was going to say. After a while, Jamie told him that she had to leave soon and go back home with her grandfather. Sato was surprised to learn that Sato couldn't talk to Jamie until they got home. Lying on his bed, Sato wondered where Jamie was going. Suddenly, a light appeared on the mountain, so Sato immediately went there and saw Jamie, who was about to enter the source of the light. Jamie looks at him and admits that Jamie has to go back to his home world because Jamie is getting married. When Jamie entered the portal, Sato didn't want to leave her, so Sato decided to follow her. When Sato opened his eyes, Sato was already in Nokonokita, Jamie's kingdom, and saw the wedding ceremony in front of him. As Sato called out to Jamie, an abyss monster suddenly came into the hall. The monster attacked Jamie's grandfather Alabaster, who told Jamie to give the ring to Prince Marma. However, Jamie disobeyed and suddenly gave it to Sato, causing the ring to fall into the hands of his best friend. Witnessing this, Marma immediately gave his sword to Sato. With the help of the Ring of Light's power, Sato could easily kill the monster in one strike. However, Sato immediately lost consciousness due to the amount of energy he lost. When he regained consciousness, Jamie explained everything to Sato. As it turned out, Jamie didn't want to marry someone she didn't know, so when she saw Sato, she didn't hesitate to give him the Ring of Light. Meanwhile, the Nokonokita elders were worried because Prince Jazara's father, Emperor Sluder Jazaras, might get angry if he found out what happened. When Alabaster arrived, Alabaster introduced Sato to the people of the kingdom. Since Sato cannot do anything to change his current situation, Sato promises the people that Sato will protect Arnulus as their new hero. That night, some monsters attacked the kingdom again, this time with their leader. Before Sato confronts them, Alabaster explains to him what Sato should know about the power of the Ring of Light. When Sato goes to fight the monsters, Sato is surprised that Sato isn't instantly weakened. Alabaster told him that it was because of the strength of his bond with Jamie, his husband and wife. It was only moments before the leader of the monsters, called the Night King of the Abyss, appeared before them. Sato immediately charged at him, but the enemy easily took him down. Alabaster decided that they should retreat as he knew that Sato could not defeat the enemy yet. The monsters also followed them, but Alabaster was able to stop them by trapping them with a boulder. As they were about to continue their journey, they saw the Knights of the Abyss approaching them. Luckily, Marma came to their rescue. With her help, they had a chance to escape. Using the carriage prepared by Marma, they left the palace with Jamie. It was here that Alabaster explained to Sato why he could not defeat the Knights of the Abyss King with his current strength. In order for Sato to unleash his full power, Sato must obtain 4 more rings, which means Sato must marry 4 more princesses. When they found an inn, they decided to spend the night there. In order for Sato to better understand the role of the King of Rings, Alabaster recounts how it all began. When the evil King of the Abyss triumphed, the Ring King wanted to end it and created the Rings of Light, Fire, Water, Wind, and Earth. With these rings, the Ring King was able to defeat and seal the King of the Abyss. The Ring King then married 5 princesses, who then passed on the rings to the next generation of their respective countries. But due to the impending return of the King of the Abyss, the chosen King of the Ring must gather all 5 rings and use their power to seal the King of the Abyss again. After some time, Sato spoke with Jamie and expressed his true feelings. Jamie thanked Sato for following her into that world, and admitted that Jamie was worried about marrying someone Jamie didn't know. However, because of Sato's actions, Jamie ended up marrying the person she loved. Despite this, Jamie still doesn't want to see Sato risk his life in battle and marry another princess. The next morning, Marma gave them robes as their uniforms were conspicuous in the eyes of the people. Alabaster then told them their next destination, Ramka, the kingdom of the elves. When they arrived there, a storm wall appeared before them, serving to protect the elves from attack. Alabaster mentioned that he had been in this place before, but back then, the storm wall did not yet exist. After a while, a large bear suddenly appeared before them. The bear chased them until they reached the storm wall, and the guards let them in. When the guards learned that Sato was the king of the ring, they were taken to the palace. But when they got there, they were surprised to see Princess Nephrites hiding behind the throne. Nephrites was so embarrassed that she immediately left them and hid. Then the prince and Nephrites' older brother, Jade, suddenly appeared before them. When Jade learned that Sato was the king of the ring, Jade immediately sent soldiers to capture him. Jade plans to imprison Sato until Nephrites is old enough to marry, which means Sato will have to wait for 80 years. However, a fairy was worried about Jade's actions towards Sato, but Jade didn't care because as long as they had a storm wall, their place was safe from the king of the abyss. A few days later, a woman named Peridot suddenly appeared before Sato. Peridot wanted to know what Sato's purpose really was and why Sato wanted to collect the 5 rings. Sato replied that he just wanted to make Jamie happy. The girl just laughed at him and asked him to come with her because they were going somewhere. Using a secret passage, they went to the wind temple where the wind rings were. When Sato wondered why Princess Nephrites wasn't holding it, the woman realized that someone was coming, so they quickly hid. It turned out to be Nephrites, and it was here that Sato learned that the statues in the room were his parents who had just turned to stone. Sato was unable to control his voice, so the Nephrites could hear him. However, when Sato appeared, Nephrites could not cope with this confrontation and lost consciousness. Before the warriors with Jade caught up with them, they quickly left the temple. They brought Nephrites to the place where the woman lived. After a few minutes, the princess woke up, but Nephrites was still afraid of Sato. When Jade learned that her sister was missing, Jade immediately went to Sato's prison. When they saw that Sato was no longer there, they thought that Sato had kidnapped the princess. Then Peridot, who helped Sato, comes to them, and Jade calls him a traitor. Peridot states that Peridot only freed Sato so that Sato could hold the wind ring, and Sato agrees. They want Sato to calm the situation, but Jade won't let him, so Jade attacks them. Sato tells them that they should leave immediately, but they hear a voice and want to find out who it is. It turns out that the voice is coming from Peridot, and Peridot tells them that the wind ring is in her hand. Even though Sato doesn't understand, he listens. A few seconds later, Sato gained the power of the wind ring, allowing him to defeat Jade's army. After this incident, Jade decides to let Sato go since her sister is safe. Jade decided to help them defeat the king of the abyss. When Alabaster learns that Sato now has 2 rings, Alabaster realizes that the abyss king will soon make his move as he doesn't want his plans to be hindered. At the time, his heart was still filled with anger after leaving Ramka. The ring took advantage of her weakness and was easily drawn to take it. Here they learned that the king of the abyss used the black ring to create his disciples. That way, the monsters were free to attack humans and other races. A few hours later, Smaragdi spoke with Alabaster to inquire about his beloved. Alabaster showed him the necklace Alabaster had given to the Wanderer and told him what his lover wanted to tell him. Alabaster said that the Wanderer did not want to see his beloved suffer because of him and was now living peacefully in a faraway place. The next day, they continued their journey. Nephrites wanted to go with Sato, so Nephrites said goodbye to her parents and Jade. After they left, Smaragdi heard 2 elves talking about Sato. Upon hearing Alabaster's name, Smaragdi realized that the person who spoke to her that night was the one she loved. A few hours later, as they rested, Alabaster told them that their next destination was the homeland where the dragon men lived. After a while, they saw a moving city passing near them. Alabaster was delighted as it turned out to be Nidakita, the land of fire. For this reason, they decided to prioritize the Ring of Fire before heading to the Land of Water. Sato realized that Marma was saddened by Alabaster's decision, so Sato thought that Marma might also want to visit someone in the Land of Water. After they boarded the moving city, they were amazed to see the markets and cat people who were the residents of the Land of Fire. When they were about to ask where the princess was, they realized that Jamie and Nephrites were no longer with them. It turned out that they were already inside the marketplace, but when Nephrites found out that they were separated from the others, Nephrites immediately panicked. When the cat girl saw them, the cat girl suggested that they go to the arena because it was the most crowded place. When Marma asked the cat people, they immediately thought that they would try to seduce the princess, so they took them to the arena. As the girls waited outside the arena, they saw a man who was kicked out for losing the fight against the princess. Moments later, Sato arrived there, so Jamie told him what he saw. When they entered the arena, they found Princess Granart fighting one of her suitors. After defeating her opponent, Granart immediately saw the ring that Sato was wearing. Granart immediately knows why Sato has come and reminds him that if Sato wants to marry her, Sato must be stronger than him. Granart suddenly attacked, and because Sato wasn't expecting it, Sato was beaten and instantly fell to the ground. Although Granart was disappointed, Granart said that Sato could come back another day to try again. After a few hours when Sato felt better, he went straight into training with Marma. Sato could not keep up with Marma due to the gap in their swordsmanship experience. While they were eating, Alabaster also admitted that it would be very difficult for him to defeat Granart if Sato only fought him with the sword. To win against him, Sato would have to use the power of the ring. The next day, Sato and Marma practiced over and over again. Until one day, Marma realized that his opponent was able to keep up with him. However, Sato still realized that he could not defeat Granart. This is because Granart will definitely not attack directly like before. Although there was a slight chance that Sato could hit him if he could analyze Granart's movements well, it would be better if Sato combined the power of his rings. After a few days of training, Sato decided to challenge Granart again. When people heard this, many went to the arena to watch their fight. Because of the loud shouts when Sato entered the arena, the defeated challenger was jealous of the ring that made him stronger. Suddenly, the challenger saw a black ring on the floor that made him interested in using it so that the challenger would also become stronger. Not long after, the challenger tried to enter the arena at night. When the challenger entered, the challenger immediately unleashed monsters. Fortunately, Nitikita's warriors were soon there to fight the monsters. Granart took his sword and attacked the enemy, but his weapon melted. Sato tried to use the wind ring while attacking, but it didn't work. Granart tells him not to interfere because Granart wants to face the enemy alone, but Sato disagrees. After Sato tells Granart his plan, Sato faces the enemy. Using the power of the wind ring, Sato waited for the right time to be effective. Because of this, Granart has a chance to attack their enemy. Then Sato used the power of the Ring of Light to follow it up with another attack, and that's when they defeated the Knights of the Abyss King. Because of what Sato showed, Granart was amazed and accepted him to be her husband. But Sato didn't accept because he wanted to defeat her in battle first. When she heard this, Granart agreed and they resumed the battle that had been stalled. Granart attacked first, and Sato thought that Sato had anticipated his attack, but Granart still managed to trick him. When Granart attacked again, Granart suddenly disappeared, but with the help of the ring, Sato knew that Granart was on top of him. Because of this, Sato got the chance to counter and was able to defeat him. That night, they celebrated to recognize the new king of the Ring of Fire. Granart also used this opportunity to tell Sato that Granart was amazed by what Sato did to defeat him, and that it was the result of his unyielding attitude to get what Sato wanted. The next day, they were in a hurry to collect the other rings, so they immediately went to the land of water, called Masa. When they arrived there, Sato realized that Masa was no longer with them. After a while, a woman approached Sato and asked him something. After confirming that Sato was the king of rings, the woman suddenly gave him her ring, which surprised Sato as another ring was added to it. Then the girl introduces herself as Saphir, and Saphir tells him that Sato is now the new Masa king, and Sato must rule well. Representatives of the empire come there, and when Saphir says that Saphir is married to the Ring King, the empire also invites Sato's group to come with them. On the way, they saw the imperial army scattered in the area. It was here that Sato learned that the man who had come to fetch Saphir was the empire's first prince and Marma's brother, named Sluder. When they meet Saphir's father, they also meet Vixen, a court astrologer whose predictions always come true, making Saphir's father bow down to her. Because of her prophecy that the Ring King would get the water ring, Vixen warned that Masa's downfall would occur. Vixen blamed Sato for coming to their kingdom. When Saphir took them to their room, they met Saphira, Saphir's twin sister. As they discuss Saphir's decision, Marma cannot control herself and talks to Saphira. It turned out that Saphira was the important person Marma wanted to meet there. However, Saphira did not want to meet her, so Saphira left immediately. They learned from Saphira that the two had once been in love. Their relationship began when the empire tried to conquer Masa. However, when the empire realized that they could not do what they wanted, they sent representatives to strengthen the relationship between the two countries. They sent Marma to Masa, and just a few days later, Marma and Saphira became close. Until the day came when Marma was ordered by the empire to return home. A few months later, Marma wrote to Saphira to inform her that Marma had been chosen as the Ring King. With this, their plans would be fulfilled as Saphira would also inherit the water ring. However, they discovered that Marma had abandoned her role as Ring King, much to Saphira's dismay. A few days later, the fortune teller Vixen came to their kingdom. Vixen's prophecy made Saphira realize that the sacrifice Masa made was to protect them from falling. The only way to fulfill the prophecy was to destroy the water ring. Therefore, Vixen proposed that Sato help her in the fight by sacrificing himself. However, Sato refused because Sato did not believe in prophecies. A few days later, Sato met Sluder to borrow his powers. Hearing this, Sluder agreed and helped him. When Sluder took Sato to the soldier's place, they heard that Vixen had gathered a lot of power to face Sato. Sluder said that Vixen intended to attack from the air, so Sato used the wind ring to fight her army. As they fight, Sato realizes that Vixen is a powerful enemy, so Sato must use the entire power of the ring to win. A few days after the battle, Alabaster met Sato and told him that Sato now had 5 of the 7 rings. With this, they only had 2 rings left to save the world from a major threat. Alabaster also told him that the last ring they had to find was the Ring of Emptiness. Saphir, on the other hand, didn't really want to go with Sato, but she couldn't do anything about it as the power of the rings was stronger the closer they were to her. Meanwhile, Marma decided to continue accompanying Sato on his journey and leave Saphira behind for the time being. Although it was Marma who made this decision, Saphira tolerated it. The next place they had to visit was the Land of Earth, or Anicaps, located in the northern part of Masa. This place was home to the dwarves, but when the battle between the King of the Ring and the King of the Abyss took place, their race was wiped out. This meant they didn't know if the ring or the princess was still there. When they arrived at the Kegamika mountain, they had to walk because the road was narrow. It had been 3 days of walking, and they still couldn't leave the mountain. Finally, after a few days, they arrived at Anicaps. As expected, they only saw ruins. They continued walking until they reached the palace. There, they found a mage unit that, according to Alabaster, was powered by magic powder. However, after a while, they were surprised when the witch unit suddenly rose up. The witch was wearing a black ring, and Alabaster couldn't believe that the King of the Abyss managed to control the witch unit. The witch repeatedly asked why only the Land of Earth was annihilated. She wanted the Land of Light and others to be annihilated as well. Using the power of the black ring, the witch created a wall to keep Sato away from his friends. Sato fought him, and fortunately, Alabaster quickly destroyed the wall. This is where Sato used the power of the Ring of Light. The enemy tried to stop him, but to no avail. Moments later, the black ring suddenly disappeared, as did the other rings Alabaster and the Emperor were holding. After the Abyss King got all the black rings, he sent the monsters to where Sato's group was. They decided to leave first, but when they came out, they were surprised that more monsters were waiting for them. Sato told Saphir to turn back into a dragon, but since there was almost no water there, Saphir said that she couldn't do it. For this reason, they could do nothing but fight the enemy. Although they managed to defeat another monster, they realized that their enemies were multiplying. They tried to escape, but were met with so many monsters. It was then that Alabaster confirmed that the King of the Abyss had finally returned. Since the ring was unfinished, Alabaster knew that Sato had no chance of defeating the enemies. Sato suggested that they leave there first, but Alabaster knew that no matter where they went, the King of the Abyss would surely find them. The only way Alabaster could think of was to take them to another world so that the Abyss King couldn't get his hands on the rings. Marma decided to stay behind to help Alabaster as he tried to open the portal. After a while, Alabaster managed to open the gate and take them to another world. When they arrived in Sato's world, Sato couldn't believe that Sato could go back there. The girls stayed at Jamie's place for a while. However, since they had no clothes to wear, they decided to go clothes shopping. The other customers only thought that they had attended an event because of their appearance. While eating, they tried to discuss their next move. They knew that it would be difficult for them to return as there was not the slightest trace of the place they had teleported to. Saphir also said that it would be easier to connect this world with their world if they could find the slightest trace of magic. And that was exactly what they had to find in order to return. That night, Sato asked Jamie where Jamie got the money to buy clothes and food. Jamie said that Alabaster had left letters and money in case they didn't make it back to his world. Jamie felt sad because Alabaster also wrote that Alabaster wanted to forget Arnulus and live peacefully in this world. The next day, their summer vacation was coming to an end, so they returned to school. Every night, Sato returned to the place where they had teleported in the hope that he could find traces of magic. Sato didn't expect that Jamie was following him. Sato also knew that Jamie always came there every night. Then Jamie reminded him of Alabaster's last words before they teleported and freed the princesses from their destiny in the ring. Moments later, the shrine suddenly lit up and to their surprise, a woman appeared. The girl told Sato that the princess had been waiting for him for a long time. The girl introduced herself as Amber and she was the one with the Ring of Earth. They learned from her that after the Battle of the Dwarves, they decided to create a ship that would protect the ring and they created it. That means Amber is just a replica of the dwarf princess and was sent to this world with the ring. Amber was about to sign a contract with Sato, but Jamie stopped her and said that Sato would never return to Arnulus. Amber didn't push anymore, but Amber told Sato to come back to her if he changed his mind. A few days passed and Sato decided to return to the temple. When Amber appeared, she told him that he could take them back to Arnulus because he was given this power. However, Sato didn't decide right away and thought about it carefully. The next afternoon, when Sato was on the roof of the school, Amber appeared again. Amber knew that Sato was only thinking about Jamie's feelings, and that was the reason why Sato had a hard time making up her mind. Although the role of a ring princess is not easy, it is still one of the reasons why they were born. This is where Sato realizes that this is the only reason for Amber's existence. Because of this, Sato decided to execute the contract with the birth ring. That night, Jamie soon learned that Sato and Amber had executed the contract because Sato was wearing the fifth ring. Sato sincerely shared his reasons, and since Jamie could see that Sato was determined to return, Jamie decided to support him. After a while, Amber completed the gate to return to their world, so all the girls got ready. For the first time, they see Amber as a fifth ring princess. They immediately entered the portal and arrived in Arnulus. They came out of a Tanukin, and to their horror, they saw the corpses of soldiers and monsters. Granart suddenly sensed something in the distance, and when they looked at it, they witnessed a battle between Imperial soldiers and monsters. Due to the large number of monsters, Sato confronted and finished them off first. With the power of the rings, Sato quickly defeated them all and was able to approach the Abyss King. When all the rings came together, Sato gained a very powerful force. Sato immediately attacked and managed to injure the enemy, causing the monsters to disappear. They thought that the Abyss King had been completely defeated, but they were surprised that the Abyss King was still alive. Even the rings didn't believe that the enemy would survive their attack. However, Sato lost so much power that he immediately fainted. The girls acted quickly before the King of the Abyss reached Sato. For this reason, the enemy released more monsters. The girls fought and resisted the monsters, but due to the sheer number of enemies, they began to lose hope. When Sato lost consciousness, she dreamt that she was on the roof of the school and was attacked by the Abyss King. However, the dream suddenly changed when Sato and Jamie were children, and that's when Sato woke up. When Sato saw Alabaster, Sato immediately thought that Sato was dead. However, Sato was relieved that the princesses were also with them, and according to Granart, it was Alabaster who saved them. When Sato asked about Marma's condition, Alabaster said that Marma had also survived. Thanks to Smaragdi's help, they were able to escape the monsters that attacked them. Alabaster told Sato that the monsters had also retreated, probably because the Abyss King was badly damaged after his attack. Alabaster also said how happy he was when they returned with the rings intact, as it would surely bring new hope to the people of Arnulus. When they arrived at the royal palace of Nakanatica, they asked Sato why he hadn't defeated the Abyss King yet. Sato replied that his enemy had greater power, therefore the black ring was more powerful than the other 5 rings.